Hi guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how to make a fantastic chicken tortellini soup that's hearty, nutritious, and delicious. And the best part is, it's super simple to put together. Let me show you how to make it. So the first thing we want to do is roast our chicken breasts. So I am working with two just skin on, bone in chicken breasts. I like to do it this way because rather than put it in the soup and cook the chicken that way, this allows you to put it on the side if there's people you're feeding who don't eat chicken. You're going to place this in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for just 30 to 40 minutes until the chicken is cooked through. Then we're going to create the base for the soup. So this part is actually completely vegan. So you could turn this into a vegan soup, and I'll show you how to do that as we go through. But first things first, we're going to add a tablespoon of olive oil to our pot. Then you're going to add 1 cup of yellow onion that's been diced. And for those of you that are new to my channel, you can find all of these recipes on my website at entertainingwithbeth.com. That way you can print them out. Then I like to cook the onions down a bit just so that they sweeten up and become translucent. Then once those onions are nice and fragrant, you can add the rest of the veggies. So I'm going to add 1 cup of zucchini that's been diced and 1 cup of cherry tomatoes. I don't slice the cherry tomatoes just because that's pretty labor intensive. And then to break them down a bit, because it can be hard to sort of chomp down on a hot cherry tomato in a soup that's whole, you want to add 1/4 cup of water. So the water will help the cherry tomatoes steam a bit, which will help you be able to break them down before we actually turn them into a soup. Then we're going to add a little bit of freshly cracked pepper and a little bit of salt just to taste. A good pinch should do the trick. Look at all those pretty colors, looks just like summer. Then we're gonna let them steam for about 5 minutes or so. And then at this point, those cherry tomatoes are nice and soft, and that will allow you just to press them down a little bit with your spoon so they'll be easier to eat that way once they're in the soup. Then we're going to add the vegetable broth. So you're gonna add 6 cups of vegetable broth. Then you also wanna add 1/4 cup of tomato paste. And this is just going to boost up those vegetable flavors and make it really hearty and delicious. Then you also wanna add 1.5 teaspoons of Italian seasoning. This is just the Italian seasoning blend that you can get at your grocery store. If you don't have that on hand, then I would use 1 teaspoon of dried basil and 1/2 teaspoon of dried oregano. All right, then I'm also going to add a little bit of garlic. So I like to use 2 cloves just because I think it's a great combination with the tomato soup, but you can pull that back to 1 clove if you're not such a fan. If you don't have fresh garlic on hand, you can also use garlic powder. So I would use about 1.5 teaspoons. Sometimes you just have to rely on the pantry, right? I get it. Once you have all the seasoning in, then I also like to add 2 cups of fresh baby spinach, which is really great. It gives it a fabulous color, lots of great nutrition. You could also use kale or a combination of each. There you go. And then our soup base is done. So if you were serving this as a vegan soup, I would actually add a can of cannellini beans that you've rinsed and pop them in. That would be really great and would give you some more nutrition, a little bit more protein. And sometimes if I have some sitting in the fridge, I will just add them in. But today I'm not gonna do that because we have the chicken that we need to put in here and the tortellini, so it would get a little bit crowded. So we're just gonna use the spinach for now. Once your chicken is done, you can set it aside just to cool slightly until it's safe enough to handle. Then you can remove the skin from the chicken and just shred it with 2 forks into bite-sized pieces. And what's nice about this soup is it's really great for meal prepping throughout the week or for lunches if you're packing lunches, because you can cook all the chicken, keep it in a bowl in your fridge. That way you can keep the base vegetarian, and then anytime it comes time to serve, if people want the chicken, you just pop the chicken in. So in it goes. And this is the stage that I like to freeze the soup, because if you add the tortellini, which is what's coming next, and then freeze that, it gets kind of mushy and the tortellini starts to break down when you go to reheat the soup. So I think tortellini is best stored in your freezer, and then anytime you reheat the soup, just drop a handful of tortellini in the soup once it's reheated, and then it'll just cook in the soup, and then you'll be good to go. All right, so, but for now, here is my new favorite way to freeze soups. We are gonna be using one of these super cubes. Do you know about these? These are my new favorite thing. And I have Lisa from Downshiftology to thank for this, because she sent me one of these with her new book release, which if you haven't already gotten yourself a copy, I encourage you to go on out there and buy her cookbook. It's totally fabulous. I'll leave you a link in the description, but it's really great if you're trying to meal prep and eat healthier in the new year. All right, and what we're gonna do is put our soup in our little cube here, which can be a messy process if you're not careful, but I think it's a good idea to just wipe down the edges, like if you get any soup on the edges, that way it won't freeze and crystallize that way. And then after they're frozen, you just pop them out like little ice cubes and put them in your soup pot to heat it up. Now, 2 things to know when reheating the soup this way is 1, it really helps to have a lid on just to concentrate all that heat and help that ice block melt down. And you may want to thin it with a little bit of vegetable broth because as it freezes, it tends to thicken up a little bit. Okay, let's finish this soup. Our last component is the tortellini. So I like to use cheese tortellini, but you could use spinach tortellini. You could even use sausage tortellini. If everybody's eating the tortellini, then I would just pop it right into the soup because it is going to cook in the broth and it takes only just a few minutes. If you didn't want to do it this way, if you have gluten-free family members and they're not going to be having the tortellini, then I would just cook the tortellini in a separate pot in boiling water and then just add it to the soup bowl and then ladle the soup on top. Here's how I like to serve this. So get yourself a nice big bowl because you've got a lot going on here with this soup. You want to make sure you have enough room for it all. And then you can add a little bit of freshly grated Parmesan cheese. I like to use a vegetable peeler because then you get really delicious chunks of it. But you can also use a little grater if you like. Top it with some torn parsley leaves. And there you have it, a delicious soup that makes a meal. And hopefully pleases everybody. I hope you guys give this one a try and let me know what you think, and I'll see you back here next week for another quick and easy and delicious recipe. Until then, bye.